freak show, yeah. Alright. Step inside, let the road begin. Step inside, along the battle. We got the tall, the smallest, the brightest around. To keep the curiosity, hobbies and everything. Cheer the carnival. Wow! We all good. Tonight we show, yeah. The freak, so chic. Ladies and gentlemen, now the inmates have liberated the asylum. It's cabaret time here in our sinister sanatorium. At the kick of the law, here come the asylum warriors! When the body dies, so let's bring the light to the afterlife. Eternal life is here to stay, so raise that glass to eternity. Wow! Alright. The ritual of the unholy ghost, to raise the glass and toast to toast, the toast of life and then the toast of death. Let's see the demon. Time for a long lost life, go back to the drink that's exactly fine. Sacrifice in the river's life, and the river's flow in the virgin blood. Wow! The ritual is the unholy ghost. The ladies are looking so we can toast the food. I toast the love, but I toast the head. Let's see the demon dance inside your head. Let's see the demon dance until you're dead. Ladies and gentlemen, liberated from the asylum, it's Hannibal Alberto! As you see, ladies and gentlemen, Hannibal Alberto is a walking work of art. There is more ink on the outside of his body than there is blood flowing within. Take a look inside his mouth, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, he has a forked tongue. That's twice as much fun, ladies. His mother was a reptile. His father, Donald Trump. He is Hannibal Alberto. I'd like to take another look inside his mouth, if you're so kind. I'd like to look at the teeth now. Now, I'm not referring to the metal teeth, but either side of the metal teeth. What you're actually looking at, believe it not, is 40,000-year-old mammoth ivory. Absolutely genuine, ladies and gentlemen, he has had Siberian mammoth ivory implanted into his mouth. But there's a lot more to Hannibal Alberto than a walking work of art, oh yeah. Oh hell yeah. He also happens to be the world's greatest sword swallower. Now we live in very skeptical times, ladies and gentlemen. People don't believe that sword swallowing is real. They still think the sword retracts into the handle. Of course it doesn't. There's around 80 sword swallowers all over the world proving otherwise. But we intend to prove you tonight, Preston, beyond any doubt, that sword swallowing is indeed a genuine art. And the way we're going to prove that is the first sword you will swallow, of course, has no handle. There it is, 18 inches long, made of solid steel, attached to the end of purely chains. We're going to ask you to be so kind as to take the sword, to place the sword inside his mouth, to force the sword down his throat, past his lungs, until only the chain is protruding. Here it goes. Hannibal Alberto! Good, now it proves you beyond any doubt the sword swallow is indeed a genuine art. It's time to take things a little further. And the next sword he will swallow is in fact a cutlass. Is in fact a curved cutlass with an astounding 90 degrees curve upon it. That's right, folks, you heard correctly. A 90 degrees curve. Now, to allow Hannibal to swallow this beauty, he's had to have even more body modifications. And he's had what we call in the sideshow trade as floating ribs. That basically means the top two ribs, the top one on either side of his rib cage, they're forever broken and they just float about above the others. You may recall that must be what, 17, 18 years ago now? Marilyn Manson allegedly had the same such operation. But Marilyn did his supposedly so he could give himself a blowjob. You remember? Hannibal has done his to swallow this fantastic sword. Please show the good people of my hometown of Preston your floating ribs. Here we go. There's one. There's the other. And for any avoidance of doubts, he will now take the curved cutlass. He will place it inside his mouth. He will force it down his throat, past the lungs, behind his heart, and deep into his intestine. His whole head, neck, and body must bend to the curvature of the blade. If he fails to do this correctly, he will surely pierce his esophagus again. Ladies and gentlemen, Hannibal Alberto! Hannibal Alberto! Don't look so horrified, madam. I'm sure you've swallowed worse. From the king of the sideshow to the queen of the sideshow. She's the bride of Hannibal Alberto, don't you know? She's Polish aristocracy. She's drop dead gorgeous. She is Anastasia, the fourth. Into the center of the stage, we have placed one of the ancient implements of torture. First used over 3,000 years ago during the Ming dynasties. It is a ladder of swords. Our particular ladder contains not one, not two, not even three, but 5 swords of the samurai. Each and every one as sharp as a razor. Hannibal, please show the good people of Lancashire exactly how sharp these blades are. Good. Believe it, believe it not. Anastasia the Fourth will now attempt to walk all 5 swords in only her bare feet. The slightest slip could be fatal. Ladies and gentlemen, break silence please for the walk of death by Anastasia the Fourth. Anastasia, the Fourth! Hannibal Alberto takes center stage one more time and carries with him a sword we quaintly know as the Sword of the Serpent. A name because of its unique shape, ladies and gentlemen. Now as he swallows the serpent's sword, pay particular attention, look really, really closely as the floating ribs, and you will see them gliding from left to right, then left to right, then left to right, as the sword slithers down his throat, behind his heart, and deep, deep, deep into his intestine. Here it goes. You ain't seen nothing yet. Anastasia the Fourth takes center stage. One final time, encourage with her the most deadly implement ever swallowed by any sword swallower anywhere in the world. In fact, Preston, I correct myself. It is the most dangerous implement that is never swallowed by a sword swallower. Far, far, far too dangerous. It's an implement more akin to carpentry. That's right, folks. Carpenters throughout the ages have gone about their daily business using one of these beauties, and I'm going to take you back again. This time just over 2,000 years, Jesus Christ. His father, Joseph. Now, he was a carpenter. He went about his daily business of sewing his wood. But ladies and gentlemen of Preston, I ask you this. I humbly ask you good people this. He may not be able to walk on water, but could Jesus Christ swallow a saw? I think not. You're looking at the new Messiah, and it's Hannibal Alberto. Hannibal Alberto.